Happy Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. I didn't have any ice, by the way, in my ice maker. So my drink is a little warm. I'm having a little drink here. It's Friday. So I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday. I hope that you're going to have a great weekend. Had a big week behind us. Welcome to Lemon Live at 5. I'm so glad that you guys are here. This is, of course, a show where I just talk directly to you and I take your questions. By the way, I am going to be answering whatever you want to know. I'm going to be answering at the end once I get some of the housekeeping out of the way. So I'll be taking your questions. I'll answer some of your questions. I want to know what you're doing this week, and I want to know what you hear about. If you want to hear about certain things, let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. Man, I've had an interesting, before I get into the Trump stuff, of the week that was, I had a very interesting evening. I told you guys that I was going to go to this thing that was like a group dinner. And it was a group dinner of like sort of New York media movers and shakers, but mostly young people. It was like mostly like young people, and then a few establishment people. There were, people who worked for magazines in New York City. There were people who worked for the newspapers in New York City. There were people who were contributors on programs. There were people who had very popular podcasts. There were folks who were big in PR, like some PR really icons here. And it was like a round table of people who should know each other and maybe didn't. And someone set it up. My friend Molly Jong Fast set it up. And it was actually really interesting. And I would suggest, it's a good idea in your communities, if you would. It's a good idea for you guys to maybe host people you don't know, that you would like to know, that you should know. And it would be a good way to have them to have discussions with people, right? Oh, one of my lights is not on. Let's see if I can get Tim to turn the light on. I can't get up away from here. So I think that's a good idea. Maybe we should have like a lemon not that one, just on the wall, that one. Thank you. There we go. There I am. Thank you, Tim. Tim is here today. Okay, so I think that would be great if you guys could do that in your own community. And maybe, just maybe, if we get to the point where we can do it, I could host that sort of event with you guys, maybe in your hometown. Maybe we take over a diner. Maybe we go to, a community center, or we do something. We have a hall or whatever, and everyone just sits around and talk. Do you ever do that? Do you guys ever go into, as they call it, the lion's den? Do you ever go into talk to people who you don't necessarily agree with, and people who may be gunning for you a little bit, and then they get to know you and they're like, wow, you're actually nice. I actually had that experience today. So for all you lemon heads, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go on to this podcast page, and not right now, you can do it later. And I want you to say, hey, I'm so happy that Don Lemon did your show. We're the Lemon Heads. We're part of the Lemon Nation, and we can't wait to see the show. Okay. So it's called Full Send Podcast. And it is a conservative podcast. Well, they say they're not conservative, but they have mostly conservative guests. They are these young guys. The questions, and let me know if you've ever heard of the Full Send podcast. I think they may be part of the Milk Boys. I'm not sure. I don't really know that much about them. But anyway, a friend turned me on, asked me if I would do their podcast, and I did it. And, we got lost in the conversation, and I almost missed coming on and hanging out with you guys today. So go on there and on their community page after this and say, hey, Full Send, S-E-N-D, Full Send, S-E-N-D. I got pummeled with questions about vaccines. I got pummeled with questions about social distancing and masks and the media and, whether Joe Biden is in cognitive decline and, Donald Trump is a peaceful warrior and all kinds of things. So full FULL send SEND. Wait till you're done with me today, and I would appreciate it. Go on and say, hey, part of the Elimination. We're glad that he's coming on your podcast. Be good to him. Perhaps they should have more people like me on. Tell them that they should come on this podcast. Okay. What do we do to access it? I think you just go and on YouTube and you look for full send. That's it. But again, as I said, wait. It would be great. How are you guys doing today? Everybody doing okay? Good. I'm glad everyone is doing okay. If you're not, you can tell me. You can let me know. So you're in my, I should say this is my dining room. I went from the living room to the dining room. So you're in my dining room, and I'm happy that you're here. So let's discuss. And hopefully today, remember my video wasn't working yesterday. So hopefully today my video works. What a week though. Can you believe everything that has transpired this week? Has been so much. It's just in the last 5 days. Monday was, I can't even remember what Monday was, but Tuesday was Stormy Daniels. So we had, Trump confidants sobbing on the stand. That was Hope Hicks, right? So we had Trump confidants sobbing on the stand. We had an adult film star describing how she spanked and then slept with the former president. And then we watched 2 of the former president's criminal trials be utterly derailed. May not even go to trial. Well, they're definitely not going to go before the 2024 election. And who knows if they're ever going to come to a conclusion. So we had that. Remember Hope Hicks? And it was like a big deal on Monday. And then Tuesday, it was Stormy Daniels. And then Wednesday, no court. And then yesterday, Thursday, Stormy Daniels again. Crazy. This thing is really going by fast. Okay. So that brings me to the next question. Like, was it a good week? Or was it a bad week for the former president? Maybe that's a good poll question as you like and hit the thumbs up. Was it a good week or was it a bad week for the former president? I'm really not sure, and I'm going to tell you why, because he faced, this like withering, humiliating testimony from his hush money trial. The salacious testimony from Stormy Daniels, the statements that, actually, I think set him up for appeal. It set him up, it put him in good standing for a possible appeal. And so then there's the Fani Willis case, right? Election interference case. Jack Smith slam dunk, classified documents case. Both are going to be delayed indefinitely until well after the election. As I always say, I know you guys are tired of hearing about it. Me say, this guy has a devil's luck. He really does. He really does. I'm going to show him campaigning at the courthouse a little bit later on. I'm going to show you what he said about the judge. And I'm going to show you some of the folks who are standing by their man. So before we are you mad about that possibly happening? And, that these cases may not go to trial before the election, if ever. But do you think Donald Trump should be jumping for joy? Or should he be, crying in his soup or in his McDonald's or in his Diet Coke? Or I shouldn't say McDonald's, in his hamburger. So what do you think? So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about what's happening today, okay? This is what NBC News is reporting. In this metaphorical eye of the storm, the 15th day, this is 15th day of Donald Trump's New York hush money trial. Trial is focused on phone records, but you wouldn't know that from the testimony this week, right? Social media posts, getting closer to what it was about. And payments, that's what it was about. And also what happened in that suite in the hotel with Stormy Daniels. A slow, plodding course of proceedings before and the much anticipated appearance of none other than someone I know, and he will come on this program, is Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen on Monday will be the star witness in the Donald Trump hush money trial. What do you think about that? He's going to be the star witness. Donald Trump seemed like really tired of the proceedings. And he's saying that he's tired of the proceeding, okay? Because he was like looking through newspaper articles when there was a paralegal that took the stand from the district attorney's office to authenticate these financial records, the payments that he made to Michael Cohen. This is all pro forma stuff that they're doing. So it's a little bit boring in some aspects, but then every once in a while, something will poke through to garner your interest. Okay. By the way, his sort of, I don't know, alleged campaign manager sat behind him. And Boris Epstein, a senior advisor to Trump, also sat behind him and like talks to him during the breaks and pauses in the testimony. So much of, as I said, today's proceedings was sort of pro forma, is entering evidence. That's something that the court usually can do via stipulation, a simple agreement by both sides to, this is what we're going to put into trial. This is what we're going to do. This goes into the record, blah, 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 blah. But in this trial has been handled by witnesses. So they're getting the witnesses to do the pro forma stuff instead of just entering it into the record. Okay. So it's a slow process. I think what the prosecution is doing is trying to humanize this trial, trying not to make it boring by just having it be about paperwork and numbers. So they want the jurors to see that this actually affected people's lives, and they want actual people to read this sort of pro forma stuff that needs to be entered into the record. For example, Larry King came up, right? Judge Merchan ruled that in 1999, that an interview with Larry King in which Trump talked about his familiarity with campaign finance law, that could not be entered into evidence, right? So again, boring stuff, but then someone on the stand did it. An AT&T employee and a Verizon employee were called to authenticate phone records. These are the phone records. Are they authentic? They want the prosecution wants the jury to know it's actual people there working at the phone companies who are doing this work. They have to take their time off and come in here, and they, for sure, it's just like it puts a mark on your brain about, okay, it's not just something on the paper. So it says, okay, the phone records, we had the two people, they said those phone records were authentic. We had two people from the phone company, AT&T and Verizon. A paralegal from the prosecutor's office authenticated payment records made by Michael Cohen to the former president's personal checking account and his revocable trust. So it's not just about, okay, they made the phone records. There is a paralegal from the prosecutor's office on the stand authenticating the payments, saying to the jury and to the court, these are authentic and these are real. This is the evidence. And then another paralegal for the prosecution authenticated a series of messages between the former National Enquirer editor-in-chief Dillard Howard and Stormy Daniels. Okay, so about whether that she should go public or would go public with the allegations in her affair against Trump. So Dylan Howard and Stormy Daniels' manager had these conversations. Excuse me. And then Trump, unsurprisingly, can you believe it, spoke outside of the court today. Would you like to hear what he said? I am going to play it. Hopefully, I had some video trouble yesterday. Let's hope it works today, y'all. Let's hope it works today. Okay. Let me know if it doesn't. I would appreciate it. But let's hope it works today. Here's the former president.
Because what's happening in our country is horrible. Between inflation and the horrible economy. And the only reason, by the way, the stock market goes up is that I'm leading in all the polls. If I weren't leading, the stock market would be way down. But I'm leading, and based on the fact that I'm leading, the stock market is up. If I didn't win, you would have a crash like 1929. Mark my words, I can write about everything. If I didn't win, you would have a crash like the crash of 1929, because the people that are running our government right now are corrupt and incompetent.
Okay. He doesn't know that. And by the way, the stock market is doing better under Joe Biden. The economy is doing better under Joe Biden. Economically, we're doing better under Joe Biden. I know that people talk about inflation and how Americans actually feel. You don't feel the economy. That's not translating. People still feel that they're not doing well. Grocery prices, they believe, are high. Gas prices are low. They may be going up a little bit. But what he's saying is actually not true. And he doesn't know if there'd be a crash like 1929. So just so you know, the stock market is doing better actually under Joe Biden. So he's speaking falsely there. And let's see.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, so there you go. And then he walks away. So here's the deal. He talks about not being on the campaign trail, not being able to get his message across, when the real deal is that this is the best place for him to get his campaign message across, because look at all those reporters there screaming. Look at all of the cameras that are there, right? Melissa BH53 says lies, lies, lies. It really, those are lies. He's lying. Stephen H says manipulation again. Yes, it is manipulation. And again, he's not actually stating what's factual. What he's saying is that I should not be in this position. I should not be standing here before you because I have better things to do other than this trial. Let's go to the poll. Okay, here's what we have up. Our poll was, if I can get back down to the poll, I can't get the poll. Here we go. So was this a good week or a bad week for Trump? 80% of you say bad week. 19% say good week. 500 or so folks have voted on that. I wonder why you think it was a bad week for the people who did. I'm sorry. I wonder why you think it was a good week for him. I wonder why you think it was a good week for him, because it's very interesting that you would say that. It's very interesting that you would say that. I hope you watched the show from earlier that we did with Brian Stelter and Dina Dahl. It was actually a fascinating show. It was one of the best shows on Trump that we've done, our panel shows that we do in the afternoon. Every day in the afternoon, we try to offer you a show that will update you on what's happening at the trial. And you guys seem to like it. You've been tuning in. And when the trial is over, then we'll do something else. But I think this is very important for the country. So I have people like Brian Stelter, people like Dina Dahl on. Dina's an expert on on legal issues. She's an attorney. Brian Stelter is an expert on the media and such. And so I had them on to talk about it. Brian Stelter is an old friend. He's a former colleague from CNN. You should listen to our conversation, because if you haven't done it already, because he pointed out something that was very interesting to me. He pointed out some things that were very interesting to me. While Trump is totally alone he's been totally alone for effectively 2 weeks on the campaign trail. He was sitting there by himself, falling asleep, farting allegedly, and grunting and making noises. This week, he's had some friends, he's had some family members, he's had some politicians showing up. Remember, Eric Trump showed up last week, at the end of last week, I believe. He sat in the courtroom again today. His longtime friend and former host, Jeanine Pirro, I should say longtime friend and Fox host, Jeanine Pirro, attended the proceedings. And then the Florida Senator Rick Scott also flew in to support the former president. And so I want to hear why. This is why Rick Scott says that he supported Donald Trump while he was there. He's also campaigning on behalf of Donald Trump at the courthouse as well. So he has his surrogates out there. Let's listen now to Rick Scott. Okay, Rick Scott.
That Donald Trump can't talk. You know, they've got a gag order, so he can't go campaign. They've got him holed up in a courtroom. So Joe Biden go campaign, but Donald Trump can't. That Donald Trump can't talk. You know, they've got a gag order, so he can't go campaign. They've got him holed up in a courtroom. So Joe Biden go campaign, but Donald Trump can't.
Okay, but do you understand, Rick Scott? I'm going to just leave his picture up there for a minute. Do you think Rick Scott understands that the reason Donald Trump can't go campaign is because he's on trial? He's done some things that he's accused of doing some bad things, and Joe Biden has not. What Donald Trump is accused of has risen to the level of where people think, where prosecutors believe he can be prosecuted, that it's worthy of going to court. Joe Biden is not in that situation. So why on earth would he even compare that to Joe Biden? Why is this I can't get out on the campaign issue? Why is Rick Scott even putting himself in this position? It's really, really, really odd to me. I don't know if you, I don't really get it. So I don't get it. So here's the question that I want to know. I have a question for you. Why are these people showing up now? Why are they showing up now, do you believe? Do you think that they are concerned about what's going on in this courtroom? There are only two explanations for this, I think. I think there are two. Maybe you have others. Perhaps they think that the prosecution case is weaker than they expected, right? Perhaps they think the prosecution's case is weaker than they had expected. Perhaps originally they didn't want to be associated with this sort of sleaze or hush case, hush money case. But now they think it's actually not too threatening to them. I don't know. I don't know. Or perhaps they were called in because it looks like Donald Trump is hurting, that he is wounded personally, that he is upset and wounded personally by the Stormy Daniels testimony. Maybe his friends are showing up because he needs emotional support. He needs emotional support people, not just emotional support animals. Maybe that's why they're showing up. Because there was no one there at first. Morvey Burgess says he is wounded. I do believe that. Blue says they show up because it benefits them. I don't know how this benefits. I guess it benefits Rick Scott in the MAGA world. Eric Trump, I think it benefits him with his dad. My son was there, therefore maybe something will happen. I don't know. So this is a question. Why are Trump's friends and family only now showing up? This is in the poll. The case is weaker than they expected. Trump needs emotional support. Maybe the case is stronger than they expected. Now they're like, oh, we better get down there. Or is it some other reason? Why are they showing up now? I'll let a few of you vote, and then let's discuss as you guys are voting. Trump is off emotion, says none. He has anger and emotional greed. And he has anger as emotion and greed. It's all he feels, says Darla. Grammy B says, I don't believe that is the reason they are showing up. It has to benefit them in some way. It has to benefit them in some way. Packerman 28 says, access. Okay. Nicholas Rios says, I seriously doubt it. He has no friends. Okay, so that's interesting. Why are they showing up? And that's what's happening there. Now, as his friends are showing up, a few of them, it's just been, well, Boris Epstein is there, right? He's a former Trump advisor. His de facto campaign manager is there. His son, Eric Trump, is there. And Jeanine Pirro from Fox News is there. Hey, I'm going to get an interview with the president. So access. So maybe you guys are right. About that. So as all of this is happening, he is still out there complaining. Now, remember, he has this gag order, which he has appealed. But he is still out there complaining. Okay? I want you to listen to what he says about being in the courtroom, about the judge, and what he thinks about going to jail. Because going to jail is actually on Donald Trump's mind. You ready? Here we go. The former president.
It's, the articles are unbelievable. And I hand you the articles, but the problem is I'm not allowed to. Because if anything's mentioned against certain people, and you know who they are, certain people, anything's even mentioned, who wants to put me in jail, that could happen one day, and I'd be very proud to go to jail for our Constitution, because what he's doing is so unconstitutional. There's never been anything like it.
Okay, so here's the thing. He says, they want to put me in jail. And he said it would be a badge of honor for him to go to jail. Now, you remember we asked the question, I said, do you think maybe he wants to go to jail? Do you think it would benefit him? They would put me in jail. I would be proud of it to defend the Constitution. Interesting. I want to talk about that. Let me read this poll and then take it out. Okay, thank you. Almost 400 of you. The case is weaker than they expected. 16 says no. Trump needs emotional support. 32% say, that's why his friends and family are now showing up. Some other reason, 52%. You guys believe that it is something else. So thank you for that. Here's the thing. Remember I told you that he was, wanted to go to jail possibly and that it offered him street cred. Do you think he actually believes that by him going to jail, that it gives him some sort of credibility? Or do you think he's just lying just in case it happens? Because he is pushing the boundaries here when it comes to this gag order. That's the poll that I want to ask you. I want to ask, and then we'll move on. Okay. Oh, whoa. Wow, you guys, your answers are coming in. Maria Maniscalco says both. I don't know what both is. Maniscalco says both. Interesting. Norma Rodriguez says yes. Patricia Piquet says he's just lying. The Ace Adventurer says he thinks he will get more donations if he goes to jail. Interesting. The poll is up. Do you think Donald Trump actually believes going to jail will give him a boost? That's my question. I want you guys to vote on that. And as you are voting on that, I'm going to wait for you to get the results. Potassium says he's bluffing. He doesn't want to go to jail. Okay. So I said that this is going to be an Ask Me Anything, and some of you have questions. Okay? Other reasons, self-serving, says Trisha Vincent. Okay, Trisha Vincent, thank you. Just real quickly, I'm just going to see where this poll is going, and I'm going to get it out of the way. Okay, I think enough of you have voted. 300 of you had voted, and you said, do you think actually he believes going to jail will give him a boost? 72% say yes, 28% say no. I don't think that's going to change. So thank you for that. So here we go. He wouldn't be able to get to the microphone. Someone just said that, and that is a really, really, really good point. That wouldn't he lose microphone privileges? Says Brixton, UK. Brixton, you are a genius. Thank you very much. Okay, so put your questions in the comments. Anything you want to talk about in the comments. Why isn't Giuliani there? That's a good question, Chrissy Snow. Chrissy Snow from Three's Company. That was Suzanne Summers' character, for those of you who are old enough to remember. So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to read some of your questions and then I'm going to answer them. And so these are ones that have already been on. I have my paper here. And then I'm going to ask some that are in the file. When is the book coming out? The book is coming out in September. It's coming out in September. And I told you it's about God. It's called I Once Was Lost, My Search for God in America. And I think you're really going to love this book. You're going to buy it for everybody, right? You guys are going to buy it, 10 copies each. Joking. Live at 5 this weekend, question mark. Oof. So I would say yes. I'm not sure about Saturday. You guys let me know in the comments if you want me to do live at 5 this weekend. And if I do live at 5 this weekend, I don't know if I want to talk about Trump. I may just want to talk about some things that are interesting. Lee Maria, thank you for supporting independent media. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Lee. Maria. Thank you. Lee Maria. Thank you. Okay, so will Keith Schiller, bodyguard, be called to the stand? I don't know if Keith Schiller will be called to the stand. I'm not sure. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I doubt it. Who knows? But if he is pertinent to the case, if he knows about Donald Trump's whereabouts, but I'm not sure that Keith Schiller offers anything, because all of the people who have pretty much corroborated that they have seen Donald Trump and that their interactions with Donald Trump and everything that he is accused of doing is true. So let's see. How much of your personal opinion was allowed at CNN? I never really offered that much of my personal opinion. What I offered is what I call a point of view, and there is a distinction, there's a difference. An opinion can just be about whatever. You don't have to offer any fact. You can just say, this is my opinion. My point of view was always based in evidence. Like when I said the president of the United States is racist, and then I went on to give the reasons why that was my point of view, but that was also a fact. Okay? So how much of it, usually CNN shied away from personal opinion, but just remember, when I was on the night show, I had this segment called, it was Don's Take. And so basically I gave my point of view at the top of every show every night. So you kind of knew where I stood on most issues without going too far, saying I'm going to vote for this person or I support this candidate or whatever. I could not do that. Who are you still friends with in mainstream media? Oh my gosh, how many do you have all night? I'm friends with a lot of people in mainstream media, not just at CNN. I'm friends with, I told you, the ladies in The View. They were at my wedding. They're in mainstream media. My friend Sam Champion is on Channel 7. Gio Benitez is a friend. He's on Good Morning America Weekend. Gio's husband is on, I think it's Extra, one of those TV shows he's on, and he's a friend. Vanna Bash is a friend from CNN. She was at my wedding. Aaron Burnett, same thing. Kate Baldwin, same thing. Who else am I friends with? A lot of folks. Occasionally I'll see out and about and I'll get a text from Gail King. So there are, a lot of people who I am still in contact and still friends with. Someone said in the comments, do you and Chris still communicate? We have not, Deborah Henson. We have not communicated. And perhaps we will in a short time. Yes, someone, Jay Greenleaf says, Jake Tapper. Yes, Jake and I text occasionally. I have not spoken to Jake in a while. And, a lot of people are asking me about Chris Cuomo. I haven't spoken to Chris in a while. It does not mean that I don't still love Chris. We just haven't spoken in a while because we needed a break. That's it. Yes, Jay Greenleaf says, love Jake. I do. Jake is a good guy. I wouldn't say Michael Cohen is in mainstream media. He has a podcast, and I hear from Michael Cohen all the time. So, yeah, someone said, Chris is a Trumper, whatever. Do you, occasionally, I haven't heard from Sanjay in a while, but I'm still friends with Sanjay. So yeah, there are a number of people, too many I did not lose any friends when I left CNN. Were you comfortable when Whoopi talked about her hit and runs? That was funny. And yes, Sevatura, whatever, I can't pronounce that. I see Deborah Robertson. I know her. Deborah and I are not good friends, but we are acquaintances. I do know her, but I don't, hang out with Deborah. So, thank you so much, Aaron Botcher. Aaron, you're the best. Aaron, what do you want to know? Hey, Don, how important do you think it is to get right from historiographic perspective as an interviewer? Old media seems less concerned than new media, like Gaza protests, etc. Has your view changed? So it's kind of I'm not exactly sure I understand. I think it's always great to get historic perspective, graphic perspective, and has my view changed? My view hasn't changed on Gaza and Israel. As a matter of fact, at the dinner I was at last night, I sat next to a rabbi and we had a conversation, and my take, I'll share what my take is. I think that young people and old people, especially, and I'm generalizing here, right? This isn't true for everyone. They have a different belief and different perspective on what's happening surrounding not only just the war in Gaza, but just Israel and America's policy towards Israel in general. And I think the disconnect is interesting to me, but I don't think that the younger people and the older people are talking to each other. And in certain families, younger Jewish people have a different idea of Judaism and Israel, the situation there, than older Jewish people. And I think it does a disservice to younger people when you say they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know historical perspective. They are ignorant to certain things. They're getting their news just on social media. I don't believe that to be true across the board. And you're not going to win them over if you insult them that way. Just as Trump supporters would say, you're not going to win me over by criticizing me and saying that I'm dumb or stupid because I'm a Trump supporter. So you're not going to win the young people over. The young people hold the future of Judaism in their hands. They're going to carry it into the future. They will be gone. They will be here when the older people are gone. And so you have to somehow bring them in, even if you can't win them over. You have to at least somehow get them to become part of the conversation. And that is not happening. I think people are strident and they believe what they were taught when they were young and what they grew up on. Remember, older people, you're reacting and you're believing what you were taught when you grew up. And the younger people are doing the same thing. So I'm not saying anyone's right and anyone's wrong. Anyone's perspective is right. Anyone's perspective is wrong. Okay? But what I am saying is that if the older people are more mature, then they should be welcoming to the younger people and they should show them the way. Right? And so the rabbi he's like, wow, that is, I never thought about it. And he said to me, you're right, because people are the biggest growing population, he said, of the Jewish community are Orthodox, ultra-religious Jews. And that sort of secular Jews and moderate Jews, it was dwindling. And then I said to him regarding the protests, I'm letting you in, I'm being very transparent. I said to him regarding the protests that obviously I thought that, kids had the right to protest. I didn't like some of the anti-Semitic stuff. I didn't like the violence. And I said, my perspective coming from LSU, we had a place called Free Speech Alley. I'm going to remove just from the screen now. We had a place called Free Speech Alley where we could go and basically say whatever we wanted. And it was uncomfortable. We didn't like it. People called us names. I got called the N-word. I like all of these things. And I said, for some instances, I'm not talking about the violence. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. People have to become okay with being in uncomfortable situations. And young people should not be coddled, and they should not be saved by adults. I wasn't saved by adults. I had to go through all of those things, being called homophobic names, being called racist names, and it made me who I am. It built up my skin. It made me stronger. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Did I like it when it was happening? I did not. So I think to think that you're going to be on a college campus and someone is not going to call you a name, whether it's racist or homophobic or bigoted or whatever it is, I think it's naive. So if someone calls you a name that you deem to be anti-Semitic, then you stand up to them. So what that did for me, it allowed me to have the wherewithal to be able to react to it in ways that I thought were positive and productive. So if someone called me a name, I didn't have a knee-jerk reaction where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm devastated by it and wilted, or that I had to immediately react and call them a name, or immediately react and start a fist fight with them. After a while, the word had no meaning when someone was trying to use it as an insult, and I got to choose however I wanted to react to it. And so he said, yes, I understand what you're saying. We have to stop coddling our young people. You cannot protect them from everything. So the mistake that I believe that happened from baby boomers to Gen X, I'm a Gen Xer, and the baby boomers before us, they wanted us to have a better life than they did, which is normal for parents and normal for elders. They wanted us to have a better life than they did. But by doing so, I think in many ways they gave us too much. I grew up with a lot. I had a car by the time I was 15. I had obviously my own room. I had my own phone line, right? I got to do things, especially as a male, that my sisters could not do. So I think that the generation before us spoiled us a little bit. And I think some people who are Gen Xers, not all, got too much, right? They were spoiled. And so I think the older generation, as far as Jewish people, maybe, they may be trying to protect their kids too much. And these kids, I was stronger than my parents believed that I was. And I think these kids are stronger than their parents may believe that they are. And they can actually handle some of these things. It doesn't mean that these things are right. It doesn't mean that you have to like them. It doesn't mean that people should be unsafe or feel unsafe. But I hope that you get my point. Let me know if you get it. Did you feel weird to have your old colleague on today? Will you have more? Who? I did not feel weird. I thought, and here's the thing: my old colleague Brian Stelter, he's good TV. When old colleagues come on, they're good TV because they know how to perform. They know how long to talk. They know that they have to carry the moment that they're in. They are knowledgeable. They watch, if it's a trial, they watch the trial. Whatever research that needs to be done, they do that. I'm going to read some of your comments, especially about what I said about that. Yes, Brian Stelter is great. Brian was great. Dina is good too. But I actually loved it. I actually got a text from an old colleague at CNN saying, hey, I would love to come on your show. Let me know when you want me to come on your show. And it's someone that you know. So they want to come on. So obviously we're making progress. So yeah, there you go. I love having my old colleagues on. So here's the thing. I want to know what you think about what I said. Have you watched or shared the Whoopi episode? That's what's in the thing. 57% of you say yes. I will ASAP, says 42%. You have to watch that episode. It's really, really, really great. Pam Eckert says, I'm Gen X and grew up poor. Listen, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying the people before us wanted us to have a better life, which is normal. And I didn't grow up, wealthy. My family was middle class, but my parents wanted me to have things that they weren't able to have. And I think that happens with every single generation. Gen Xers spoiled, said Marsha AMW. Yeah, I think Gen Xers are spoiled. I think Gen Xers are strong. Here's what I think about Gen Xers. I think they spoiled us in a way, but we also had to deal with those things. There was a promise among Gen Xers that we were dealing with a generation that wanted to make race relations better, that wanted to make social issues better. And then over the last couple of years, we have been disappointed when we find our friends going down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and QAnon and far-right MAGA people who don't believe in facts. That has been very disappointing to us because we were very hopeful about the progress that was being made. When I was in high school in the 80s, I had friends of all different stripes. All of my friends, black and white, had friends of all different stripes. We were all, dancing to punk rock music and, just it was an interesting time, and listening to the early forms of rap and hip hop and soul and rock and roll. And we were all doing that, and we were all hanging out together. Except at my school, just so you know, my school, which was in Baker, Louisiana, was across the street from a church, and we could not have like formal dances. Our prom was not sponsored by the school. It had to be held in like a community center. One, because of that. Two, because I don't think that they liked the races mixing. And on Sundays after church, the church across the street on Groom Road, not the folks at the church, I believe, who knows, but they would hand out, as people were leaving church, they would hand out Klan material. But the people in our school were trying to negate that, and we wanted it to be better. And so, a little bit disappointed at what happened with the whole Trump era when all of the craziness came around. Gen X is the best. Yes, I do believe Gen X is the best because, listen, I was staying at home with my sisters when I was a young kid. My sisters were not even maybe preteens, and we were at home. My parents would go to things, and they were like, lock the door, do not answer for anybody, whatever. We were doing that. That would never happen now. I would leave my house in the morning on a bicycle and not come back until the street lights came on. That would never happen now. We were miles away from home. That would not happen. That's part of the Gen X generation. That's part of Generation X. Nobody had this. Like, if you had told us that we would be paying for bottled water, we would laugh at you. Like, we would be paying for water, we would laugh at you. Like, water's free. We would just go to someone's house, a neighbor's house or wherever, and we would go to the spigot, turn on the hose pipe, and drink our water, and then get back on our bikes and ride away. Or we get back in the swing that we made on the tree with ropes and a piece of either a tree branch or a piece of plywood that someone had left over from construction. That was our swing. Or we would actually go swimming in the lake near the house in our shorts. No bathing suits, in our shorts. And people could swim. We're like, we're lucky that a lot of us did not, injure ourselves in the lake for a number of reasons. But we would be away all day in the summer, and our parents would be at work and not know where we were. We were riding mini bikes without helmets. We were riding bicycles without helmets. So that doesn't happen anymore. Parents are everything. You have to schedule the ball game. We got to go. Everybody, who's the carpool? We didn't have a carpool. We walked or we rode our bicycles. I remember I had to stay after school for to do a Christmas pageant. And so I didn't take the bus. The bus went home. And then my mom forgot that I had a Christmas pageant. And I was still at the school and it was dark and she was wondering why I wasn't at home. And she just happened to drive to the school to see if there was something going on. And I was there and I was like, I told you I had the Christmas pageant rehearsal. She said, I forgot. I was in elementary/junior high school and I would take the city bus across town because I did not like riding the school bus because we lived so far away that we were like the last stop and it would take me an hour or more, 2 hours to get home. And so I would take the city bus. My sister, my little stepsister, and she was in kindergarten. And I think I was in 4th or 5th grade. We would take the city bus across town. That would never happen now. So my whole thing is stop coddling the kids. Stop coddling the kids. We took public transportation by ourselves, says Jane Jones. MCJ427 says, I lived on my bike. Dad wouldn't let us watch TV unless it was freezing or bad weather outside. Yes. Go outside and play. And that's all they said. Go outside and play. And you had to go outside and play. Bernice C says, you are describing my childhood, boomer. Yes. Yeah. So, no babysitters. My grandmother was my nanny. We would try to get rid of her. I mean, you guys know the drill. I would steal the family station wagon when I was 12 years old and drive it around the subdivision. I don't know if that happens now, but who knows? I'm just reminiscing. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time, but I just want to say that we've gone through tough times before. We've never had a president or former president accused of such things as this. But we did have a president who, the threat of impeachment, left office on a helicopter that I remember, resigned. We had a president, not in my time, who was assassinated. We had a president who was shot. I remember being in high school. I was a freshman in high school driving my red VW Beetle Bug, and I had the radio on and it said, President Reagan has been shot. And I was driving, I was so cool because I had a car in the 9th grade, right? And I was telling my friends, yelling out of the window as we were getting out of school, the president's been shot. Don, stop it. You're so crazy. I'm like, no, I'm listening to it on the radio. No, Don, stop it. And then people ran over to the car to listen to it on the radio as I was at this red light. And I'm like, okay, I got to go. So I would pull away from the red light. And then as we were in the school traffic, and then they would run back to the car to listen to it on the radio. So that's what it is. All right. Ford didn't pardon Nixon. If Ford didn't pardon Nixon, we wouldn't have a Trump, says someone. All right. That's okay. Thank you. But anyway, I'm going to go. I'm going to go and have a great evening. I hope you have a great evening. I'm going to go watch the Knicks game at an undisclosed location, and I hope you have fun. And am I going to do a live at 5 this weekend? Boomer, should I do a live at 5 this weekend? What do you think? Come here. He's over here playing with his toy. Say hi, Boomer. His name is Boomer. So should I have a live at 5 this weekend? I don't know. I will let you guys know. So stay tuned. Look for the community page and look for it on social media. Okay? So I love you guys. Thanks for being part of the Lemonhead community. Go to that full send, FULLSEND. Tell them what you think about the lemon and being part of the Lemonation. And, there we go. Make sure you watch the episode with Brian Stelter and Dina Dahl, the Whoopi episode as well, and our other content. So hit the thumbs up, like and subscribe. Tell everybody about us. I appreciate building this community with you. I love you guys. I'll see you probably on Saturday. I'll probably do it. If not, I'll see you on Sunday. Okay? Have a great evening. Bye.